I made this video especially for you who are always looking for more offline games on the Play Store, but somehow keep finding the same games over and over again. In this video, I'm going to show you only truly new games that you probably don't know about and that the Play Store probably won't even recommend to you. So all you have to do is leave a like and let's get started. This one is not officially available on the Play Store because it is actually an unofficial port, but even so, it's still a great offline game. Let's talk about the Simpsons Hit and Run. This is also a PlayStation 2 game that didn't become a huge success when it was originally released, but nowadays a lot of people talk about it and appreciate what it did. And that's mainly because of its open world and the fact that it is basically a GTA style game set in the world of The Simpsons. The most interesting part is that right from the beginning, the game gives you access to the open world, allowing you to explore and do whatever you want. Of course, there are also many different missions involving the characters and the entire Simpsons universe. It isn't too difficult to find this game online, and honestly, it is definitely worth checking out. City building and management games are not always easy to find on mobile, especially ones that have a complete experience, but this is definitely one worth talking about. Let's talk about TOWNSMEN, a kingdom rebuilt. Here, you start with a small medieval village and your goal is to transform it into a powerful kingdom. To do that, you need to manage resources, build farms, mines, sawmills, markets, and dozens of other buildings while keeping the economy balanced and making sure your population stays happy. As your city grows, new production chains and challenges appear, making the management system more and more strategic. The best part is how complete the game feels. You have to deal with changing seasons, diseases, droughts, bandit attacks, and many other unexpected events that can affect your kingdom. And honestly, this game might look simple at first, but it doesn't fall behind any other title in the genre. This game really reminded me of a classic Nintendo title called Bubble Bobble, almost like one of those iconic games that everyone remembers. Let's talk about Twin Shot Deluxe, and I think this game easily has around 400 stages for you to complete, but the interesting thing is that each one can be finished in less than 3 minutes. As you can see, you control this little pink character, and your goal in each stage is very simple. Defeat all the enemies and move on to the next level. At the beginning, you only have a bow and arrows, but as you progress, you unlock new abilities that help you defeat stronger bosses and more difficult monsters. It's definitely a very simple game, but at the same time, it's extremely addictive. A game originally released back in 2023 that recently received a mobile port. This is a life simulation game, so let's talk about Volcano Princess. In the game, you take on the role of a father who needs to raise his daughter in a fantasy kingdom. Throughout the years, you decide how she will study, train, work, and spend her free time. Every choice directly influences her personality, abilities, and the direction of the story. Besides managing your daughter's daily life, you also need to build relationships, participate in festivals, learn new professions, and experience many other activities throughout the journey. It's a very relaxing game with a lot of charm, and honestly, it's the kind of experience worth playing at least 3 times because of the different endings you can unlock. This is one of those games that can win over any fan of classic strategy games. If you enjoy titles like Advance Wars, you definitely need to check out WARGROOVE 2 Pocket Edition.
Hold still!
In this game, you take control of different commanders and participate in turn-based battles across maps filled with strategic possibilities. Each unit has its own role, while commanders have special abilities that can completely change the outcome of a battle. Even though this is technically the Pocket Edition, it brings the full experience from the original game with controls adapted for mobile, making the gameplay smoother and better optimized for touchscreens. The game features campaigns with hours of content, but it also includes a battle mode for those who just want to jump in and fight against enemies. A puzzle game that will definitely end up getting you addicted because this is just so satisfying to play. Let's talk about Hospital Story Dr. Sim. The idea of the game is actually pretty simple. You need to manage a hospital, take care of patients, and of course earn money by keeping everything running. Patients will arrive with different symptoms, and your job is to figure out where they need to go and send them to the correct department. But the real challenge is that you need to do everything quickly. If you take too long and patients are left waiting, they will become angry, and eventually your hospital can fail. It's a very simple game to understand, but it's extremely fun to play. This is the kind of game that is perfect for passing the time because honestly, once you start playing, you don't even notice how quickly time goes by. This is definitely the craziest game on our list, and a lot of people don't even know that it was released on the Play Store. Let's talk about How Many Dudes. The The concept is simple but extremely addictive. You recruit an army of characters and create increasingly absurd combinations to face battles against unusual enemies like gorillas, massive swarms, and even creatures that feel completely out of this world. Your main goal is to create powerful synergies between your characters and build the biggest army possible. At first the game can feel really strange, but after a while you start getting used to its style. It's also a very funny game. It doesn't always make sense, but that's exactly what makes it so unique and entertaining. If you enjoy relaxing games like Stardew Valley but you want something with a completely different idea, then you need to know Moonlight Peaks. Instead of managing a regular farm, here you take the role of a young vampire who moves to a small town filled with supernatural creatures. Throughout the adventure, you can grow magical plants, learn spells, create potions, and meet characters like witches, werewolves, and mermaids. You can even build relationships and develop romances with them. Besides taking care of your property, you can also customize your house, unlock new vampire abilities, and discover the secrets behind the families living in the region. It's the kind of game you play after losing 10 matches in Call of Duty and just wanting something relaxing to enjoy. Another game on our list, but this one is a little different. Let's talk about Pirate Outlaws. I really like this card game style where you need to upgrade your character while also building your strategy almost like an RPG. The story is very simple. You are a pirate exploring a jungle searching for a lost treasure, but of course along the way you will encounter a lot of strange monsters that you need to defeat. As you progress through the game, you unlock more cards and continue improving your character. The gameplay is simple, but the roguelike structure makes everything much more interesting. If you die, you have to start your journey again from the beginning, and you need to manage everything carefully because every decision matters. Honestly, this is one of the best ports that has been released recently. Let's talk about Slime Rancher. I honestly don't know exactly what category this game fits into. Maybe it's a mix of puzzle, simulation, and adventure, but the idea is actually very simple. Your goal is to collect as many slimes as possible in the game's open world using your special tool to capture them. The idea is to place similar slimes together so they can reproduce and generate money for you, but of course to do that you need to explore the world, discover what each slime likes to eat, and at the same time be careful with the predators that are waiting around. Maybe it doesn't sound that interesting when explained this way, but this is definitely one of the biggest and most impressive games to arrive on mobile. The idea of creating a paid cooperative game on mobile might not seem like something that would work, but recently this game arrived on the platform Don't Starve Together. The game takes you into a dark world full of dangers where you need to explore, gather resources, craft equipment, build a base, and find food in order to survive. Many people already know the original game because it is a survival experience that also mixes elements of horror, creating a unique atmosphere, but without a doubt, the biggest highlight is the cooperative mode. Even though it is a paid game on the Playstore and can be played offline, it also features online servers where you can work together with other players, play with friends, or even make new ones along the way. It's the type of game that will probably either become a huge success or completely fail on the Playstore because its concept is very different from what we usually see on mobile. This is an older game on the Playstore, but the one we're talking about today is the newest version. Let's talk about Dungeon Princess 3. I remember playing the first version of this game back in 2016, and of course this new release has improved the experience quite a lot. I think you could say this game is a mix between a puzzle game and a turn-based RPG. In the game, you control a team of 3 characters. There are also many different characters that you can collect and add to your team, and your main goal is to climb as many floors as possible. The game does have some elements that remind you of a roguelike, but it doesn't focus heavily on that formula. Instead, it feels much more like a traditional turn-based RPG or even a dungeon crawler, where the main focus is exploring, fighting, and building your team. Now, this is a port that arrived on Android last month, but it didn't get that much attention. Let's talk about a game called Felix the Reaper. In Felix the Reaper, Death is a chubby and charismatic guy who wears headphones and can't stop dancing for even a second. His goal: complete the death quota from the Ministry of Death while trying to impress Betty. Felix the Reaper is one of the most creative and charming puzzle games in the indie scene. If you enjoy games that require strict spatial thinking and careful planning, this is definitely a game worth checking out. It's one of those games that is difficult to explain, but it became very popular on PC. While many people don't even know that it is also available on Android, I think it's definitely worth giving it a try. This is one of those tactical RPGs that can easily go unnoticed, but it delivers a very different experience from the usual games in the genre. Let's talk about Guards 2, Chaos in Hell. In this game, you build a team of heroes to face infernal creatures in turn-based battles where positioning and the order of your actions make all the difference. Each character has unique abilities, allowing you to create different strategies and find the best way to overcome increasingly difficult enemies. Besides the challenging battles, the game features a beautiful dark fantasy art style, combined with a dark atmosphere that perfectly fits the journey through hell. As you progress, you can strengthen your team, unlock new abilities, and face powerful bosses that require planning and strategy instead of just relying on brute force. Now, honestly, almost nobody remembers this game anymore when it was forgotten on the PlayStation 2 and eventually received a mobile port as well. Let's talk about Gungrave Core. Like, you play as Grave, an anti-hero who takes on hundreds of enemies using his infinite ammo pistols and a massive coffin that also works as a weapon. This game feels a lot like the classic hack and slash titles from the PlayStation 2 era, where enemies would appear from every direction and you had to use every tool available to defeat them all. However, unlike many PlayStation 2 games, the story here was probably one of its weaker points, and that might be one of the reasons it never became a big success. But looking at it today, it's actually a great choice for anyone who enjoys fast-paced combat and taking down huge groups of enemies with stylish attacks. This is an action RPG that mixes exploration, puzzles, and combat in a way that reminds you of some of the biggest classics in the genre. Let's talk about Dungeons of HINTBERG. In the game, you control Louisa, a young woman who decides to spend her vacation in a small village located in the Austrian Alps, famous for its magical dungeons. Throughout the adventure, you explore different regions, fight monsters using swords and magical abilities, and solve various puzzles to progress through the dungeons. But the game also has a great unique feature. You can interact with NPCs, build relationships, and explore the world beyond just combat. This combination of action, exploration, and social simulation elements makes the experience much more diverse compared to a traditional RPG. This is a game that was released, and honestly it is pretty well hidden inside the Playstore. A lot of people don't even know that it exists. Let's talk about Blue Fire. The story of this game reminds me a lot of a Metroidvania, where you are lost in a place you don't know and your goal is to defeat the great villain waiting for you. But it's not just the story. The game follows the Metroidvania formula in almost every aspect, including the gradual progression system where your character becomes stronger as you explore. You also have an open map where you can discover new areas while upgrading your character along the way. However, what really changes everything is the fact that the game is fully 3D. This completely changes the combat style, and honestly this might be one of the game's biggest strengths. It's the type of game that we don't see released very often on Android, a game with a real story, a complete adventure, and something you can actually sit down and finish. A very interesting horror game that you can easily spend hours playing. Let's talk about CHO Chicho Charles. The main idea of this game is all about survival. You really need to stay alive while also taking care of your train and making sure it keeps running. And unlike other survival games where you build a house or create a base, here your entire safe place is inside this train. At certain moments the train will stop and you'll need to go outside, collect supplies, and survive waves of zombies and monsters that will appear. This type of game has been becoming really popular on different platforms, especially on Roblox and even on PC. And this is basically the mobile version of that experience, and honestly it is surprisingly well made. If I'm not mistaken, this game doesn't even have 500 downloads on the Play Store, making it one of the most hidden games out there. Let's talk about CLOAK. This game is a kind of roguelike where you stay on a single map and your goal is to defeat as many enemies as possible. In the game, you are dealing with a monster invasion and you basically have two different areas, the combat zone and the city. Your main objective is to protect the city, but every time you die, you have to return there to upgrade your character and become stronger. The combat is simple, and the more you die, the more powerful you become in this game. I honestly really like the graphics. The game looks surprisingly good, and even though it is very simple, it manages to be extremely addictive. A roguelike that is also a tactical RPG. Let's talk about another hidden game on the Playstore called TATICS. The game is very simple in its concept. You just choose your characters, enter a map filled with monsters, and your goal is to defeat them. But what makes the game interesting is its complexity. There are several different characters that you can add to your team, different equipment to use, and even the board itself can completely change the way you play. For anyone who enjoys tactical RPGs, this is a great option because the game doesn't focus on a huge story or endless conversations. It is all about the combat strategy and making the best decisions possible. And since it works with a roguelike structure, every run feels different, which makes the experience even better. I honestly love this game, another one that doesn't even have 1,000 downloads on the Play Store. Let's talk about Dark Sword: The Light of AIIN. I really enjoyed the gameplay style. It uses an isometric perspective, but the combat feels much more like a hack and slash, where you need to defeat multiple enemies at the same time. And as you can see, the combat is very smooth and satisfying, making it the kind of game that feels great to keep playing. Dark Sword: The Light of AIIN doesn't try to be a slow open world RPG. Instead, it focuses on being a straightforward arcade style hack and slash experience. The game doesn't have tons of dialogue or complicated progression systems. It's simply about controlling your character and defeating as many enemies as possible, and honestly, I really like that approach. I know there aren't many people who are really into card games, but this one is definitely worth taking a look at. Let's talk about ASTREA Six-Sided Oracles. If you enjoy deck building roguelikes like Slay the Spire, you need to understand how ASTREA Six-Sided Oracles takes that formula, throws the cards away, and replaces everything with dice, creating a unique mechanic based around a brilliant health system. The game works like a roguelike where you are almost expected to lose during many parts of your journey because those failures are what allow you to upgrade your character and become stronger. ASTREA may look like a game based purely on luck during your first run, but by your 10th run you realize it is actually a game about risk management and creating powerful synergies. It's the kind of game that becomes more interesting the more you play. And that's the end of our list. Hopefully you discovered some new games that you didn't know about and found something interesting to try on your mobile. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.